Hi, we're making some oak pegs, some red oak pegs for our timber frame build that we are going to be building soon. So we bought a piece of red oak log from a feller up in New Hampshire, and I'm going to split it with my axe, which I've done here. I've already quartered it, and then I take what they call a froe, and we split it into squares to make blanks to make the round pegs. So here is I've taken my rule and I've lined it off into a 1-inch grid. I'm making 3/4 pegs, so I wanted to make it a little bit bigger on the squares, so you have some room to shave off to make them round. So that being said, we'll start splitting them with the froe in the slats. Now usually you don't want to use steel on steel, but this stuff splits so hard that I use steel on steel. So I'll line my froe up on my line. That. Instead of with the grain, to make a straight grain peg. which is stronger than when they cutting against the grain. Oops.
So can you use any kind of wood to make your pegs?
No, you want to use either red oak, white oak, or ash, something that's a hardwood, especially if you have a eastern white pine structure, you want that's softwood, so you want something that's a hardwood for a peg. So now that we have our slats, I'll take my axe and we'll cut it on the lines and we'll split this. So, stand that up right there. This first one here is on the outside. I won't use that one. That's junk.
Is the sapwood that's on the outside weaker than the
Yeah.
heartwood?
Yes, it is. Yep. That one came out too small, unfortunately. You'll have that once in a while. Okay. So there you have it. There's some of the 1-inch blanks. This one's a little bit larger, which is fine. I'd rather be a little big than a little small. So sometimes I'll take this and shave it down a little bit. So now that we've done this phase, I'll usually cut a whole bunch of them up at once and get them all ready, and get a bunch of these cut, maybe a couple dozen. So that being said, we're going to move to the next phase of the peg making. Pause it. Hi, back again. We are going to start the second phase of the peg making process. And so what I've done here, if you want to point the camera down here, I've put together this little, they call it a horse, a shaving horse. Now this one here is not fancy at all. I only put it together because we're only doing one project, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. But the whole object of this horse is you get a full shave, I think that's what they call it, and then you sit on your horse, and this lever right here, and then I have a block, and I put it under the plywood, so you can raise or lower this plywood if you push the block in or out. So that's for smaller or bigger pieces. So then I'll put the piece in here, and then I'll get it to where I tight on the end, and then I can hold my feet to hold this lever to hold it tight. Now, typically you can take these squares, and I've put together a die over here, and this die will, when you drive it down through there, will make them round. So typically you shouldn't have to shave them down to put them through the die first. You can pound them through there, but I found through experience of doing these is if I shave them down a little bit closer to where they need to be in the shaving horse, and then go to the die and pound them through the die, they have more consistency of coming out 3/4 all the way down through, rather than more consistency. So
tapering the ends?
Yes, I'm tapering them just a little bit to get them in the die. And then, after they're all complete and they've dried out, I will taper both ends because some of them I'll be cutting shorter. And so, I'm not going to taper the ends on all of them right now. I'll taper the end on one end because I'm going to be cutting them to length. So what you do is, I taper them a little bit so they'll start in the die. So I'll show you. So we've gone from the square to somewhat round in the shaving horse to get it down closer to 3/4. And that way when you drive them in the die, they come out more consistent. Here's a bunch that I've done in the bucket. And so you can see, you know, they're a little bit more consistent than they are if you were just to shave them. So, and I will taper those more too. So we'll go over here to the die now. I usually do a whole bunch of them and then do them all at once. I'll do 6 at a time or so. Break it up. So when you start driving it in there, you want to look at it.
How did you put that together?
So I took a piece of